Hi everyone, good afternoon. My name is Ram from Bloomberg News. So I would like to, before I introduce the panel, I would like to just run through what this discussion is going to be about. We're going to talk about data center operators on the front line. Leading operators discuss expansion strategies, investment priorities, and the challenges of scaling hyperscale facilities in ASEAN's fast-growing digital economy amid surging AI demand. So my panel, Mr. Prashant Murthy, Managing Director and Capital and Strategy for AirTrunk, Rebecca Ng, Deputy Group CFO for Telemedia Global Data Centres, and Mr. Mahathir Said, who is the Chief Executive Officer of TM and Nxera, okay. So I'll just start with, the entire panel are data center operators, so I think I'm just going to cast a broad net and ask questions that are being tackled across the panel. So first of all, we have seen a lot of AI data center demand in ASEAN, but sometimes there's a question about what is really underpinning this. Is it because of the abundance of land and energy and the resources that ASEAN has, or is it actual local demand that's also driving this growth? Your thoughts?
Sure. Candidly, I think it's both. I think if you look at the ASEAN region, what has it always been known for? It's always been the trade hub. It's always been the center of trade for so much, and Singapore and Malaysia are obviously two countries that have always been in the heart of that for multiple industries over time. So I think there's absolutely an element of that, which is that it is a hub point. It has significant amount of telecom subsea landing stations and connectivity throughout the globe. But on top of that, the ASEAN region has a third of the world's population, only second to South Asia and East Asia. So it's a significant population that has significant underlying demand associated with it as well. So from our perspective, we continually see this option as a pan-APAC player, from Australia to Singapore to Hong Kong to Japan, into Malaysia, and soon into a few other regions as well. But we continually see demand for this region over and above others. So in markets or in environments where you're saying latency is not necessarily a driver, the focus on being near to where there is activity is absolutely showing that's the case.
Yeah, so I think just to add on that, fundamentally the growth in the data center industry in ASEAN is really due to the digital economy. This morning, I think the first presentation or panel discussion, it was also quoted that the digital economy of ASEAN will be growing at 3x to about 1 trillion by 2030. But personally, I also feel that that may not have factored in the full impact of AI. Just think about how the various sectors can harness the advantages or benefits of AI, right? Healthcare, how can we expedite drug discovery, tailored cancer treatment for patients? Those are just one of the very few examples. Just like how iPhone or smartphones have revolutionized how we work and communicate, AI trend is here to stay. So in that case, from that view, the growth will still be exponential. And I'll end off by saying why ASEAN is well positioned, like what Paresh has just said. We have a population of about 600 to 700 million in ASEAN, and we have a young and dynamic population. Almost half of them are younger than 35 years old. And why would that be a benefit, right? Number one, they will continue to drive that high digital and AI adoption rates. So the data center demand or demand for AI will continue to grow. And number two, that present the availability of the workforce to actually help us continue to grow, to support the growth in this sector.
Yeah. If I can add to that, the growth of data center doesn't come directly on its own. Yeah? The adoption of cloud services, that in itself spurred the first growth of data center industry, because everybody would need to have a centralized location. Of course, the various availability zones also help expand the data center footprint. And these are also fulfilling not just local demand, but also the requirements within the region. And if you look at where Malaysia and ASEAN is really able to link between the West and the East, together with all the diversity of various submarine cables, as what Prashant mentioned just now, that also spur the expansion. And one of the things which I think is also helpful in the expansion is because of the stability of the region itself, ASEAN in general. Of course, we hear skirmishes here and there a bit and so on, but generally ASEAN is well stable. Yeah, we have especially in Southeast Asia, the Malaysia, Singapore, up to a certain extent Indonesia, Thailand as well. Yeah, quite stable in terms of the political climate, and also obviously some of the initiative from the government also helps the expansion of data center industry in the region.
As data center operators, what would be your what informs your decision about where to invest next and which market you want to enter next?
So look, for us, I think, like any good business, we really prioritise where the customer wants us to be. And as I said earlier, we see significant customer demand, particularly in Johor, within Malaysia, but also in Australia and a handful of additional markets as well. But sort of leaving aside the customer driving you to where we should choose to invest, we really do focus on which markets are best suited. You know, the comment made earlier, that stability is a focus, is absolutely a driving element. But even further to that, which governments are really focusing on this as a sector that they'd like to invest into? What policies are being created to allow for data centres to really be there in the first place? Planning processes, access to power processes. And then most importantly in all of that, especially as we've seen in the last 3 odd years, and really distincting that, separating that from history, where a lot of demand was really driven by where connectivity was. What we're really seeing is where is power? Where is electricity? Where is the grid the strongest? Where is it the most stable? Where is it the most abundant? And again, Malaysia seems to be, really sort of setting itself up from that lens, which is really why we've invested here. But similarly, through parts of Australia, as we're looking into other markets like India as an example, very, very established, strong grids. This is really what's driving our focus as a business. But
yeah, so for STT GDC today, we are in 6 markets in ASEAN: Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Vietnam, Singapore, and also Thailand. For us, I think some of the views on what drives our investment decision is quite similar. I will call it like we have the MAC framework. M is really the macro trends like political stability, clear regulations, etc. The A will be on the available land, available power, and increasingly with the increase in AI demand and data center construction, supply chain availability is also top of mind. It is very important for us as data center operators to also look at, to do a deep dive to understand for some of these new markets or areas that we are entering into, what is the order books of your general contractors, subcontractors, the equipment vendors, and also the local support to help bring your data center live. So that's the A. And then lastly, of course, customers. We go where our customers want to be, and hence we are in the 6 markets in ASEAN at this point in time. There's that constant dialogue or engagement with customers so that we can make sure our growth plans kind of match.
For us at TM Nxera, as maybe some of you could have known, TM Telekom Malaysia is the main telecommunication operator here for the country, and we do have large, substantial amount of submarine cables spanning out to the region and the world as well. But in the data center space, we are not big, and hence partnering with Intel via its Nxera unit jives well with our aspirations to bring Digital Malaysia to the world. And looking at how we have expanded so far, TM Nxera primary focus is in Malaysia. Currently in Johor, we have a campus space of about 200 megawatt in terms of IT load. Nxera, as a unit within Intel, have had presence in Thailand and Indonesia, and they're looking at growing. So together, combining the forces of the main shareholders here, we see that we're going to hopefully be able to bring that value to our customers in the region.
Another common thing that all 3 of you have is that your companies have invested in Johor. and you've mentioned it as well. What sort of drove this? I mean, Johor has obviously become the hub for data centers in Malaysia, one of the fastest growing data center regions, probably in Asia Pacific right now as well. Do you still see scope for that market to grow even bigger than what it already is? Yeah.
Look, absolutely. We see so much demand in the Johor market. This is a sector where speed and scale matters. And as I mentioned earlier, the policies that are being put in place within Johor, the special economic zone that's been established with Singapore, the scale of land abundance, but also power, and a real deep focus on responsibility with that as well, I'd say. We think will make this and continue to be a really, really significant market.
Similarly for us, we are in Johor as well as KL. In the conversations with customers, we are really seeing megawatt deals in the zip code of 20, 50 megawatts as we go. And like what I just said, I feel that AI is only at the tip of an iceberg. So definitely still have a substantial runway for expansion, whether it's in Johor or in KL.
Yeah, if you look at the past 8 to 10 years ago, TM made a strategic decision to power up what we call then as twin core data center. One in Iskandar Putri, Nusa Jaya Tech Park, and the other one in Cyberjaya. At the time when the DC boom hasn't happened, so we were quite challenged by that, because having a readily available facility with not sufficient or insufficient take-ups on the capacity, I think that put a bit of constraint to the business. But nonetheless, I think that being ahead of time, being late in time, I think both have disadvantages. Be right on time is important. And we've learned our lessons, and we have also expanded both data centers in what was called as twin core data centers in Cyberjaya and also in Iskandar Putri now. And of course, we see that the growth is coming, hence partnership with Singtel, growing that footprint even bigger. I think if we have heard the news, Johor state government have gone through quite a number of applications that they are looking at approving. Some have approved, some I think are also pending approvals. And the government has taken various initiatives to streamline all these applications and whatnot at the not only at the state level but also at the federal level to, I suppose, perhaps having a better coordination. What she mentioned just now in terms of having the necessary supply chain. That is important to ensure the business is sustainable and able to support future demands as well.
And just adding on the size of the opportunities, like, important point for us at least, our largest deals we've actually done have been in Johor. It's and we have a 2 gigawatt platform across the region. Our first data center of 150 megawatts was leased within 6 months, like in maybe 9, but like in comparison, for when it opened, but in comparison, like our similar size data center campuses that we have in Australia, in Japan, have taken materially longer than that to actually stabilize and mature. So the demand is absolutely here. A lot of pent-up demand as well for the region, just given that there's not really many obvious choices outside of really Malaysia, in our opinion, that has that scale and stability.
And a lot of, data centers generally face two common criticisms, I think. The one that I regularly come across at least. One, there are some environmental concerns attached to it. And second, there's also this charge that it doesn't create as much jobs relative to the land size that it sort of occupies. How do you address those concerns in the markets that you especially want to expand further on?
So for us, as a young business, we've always taken sustainability as part of what we do. We actually just issued our sustainability report, I think, this morning, or it's about to go out if it hasn't gone out this morning. And so we're 72% of the electrons going to our data centers are green in nature. On top of that, we've executed effectively virtual PPAs in various geographies, Australia, Hong Kong, also in Malaysia as well. With those projects not even being online yet, we're still at 72% green electrons being servicing into our facility. So we've taken a net zero perspective, but we want to be net zero by 2030, and we've really proactively driven to that objective. We've made sure it's embedded within our culture that we actually do drive sustainability as a value proposition. We've got $18 billion. Every dollar of our financing is sustainably linked. Every dollar of margin incentive savings we achieve from that, we actually started a social impact fund 3 years ago, where every dollar that we get from margin savings, from the SLLs, from the sustainable linked loans, we're actually pouring back into the communities that we operate in. You're right, the data centres themselves, on a very direct basis, may not hire that many people beyond a construction exercise, but the ecosystems that's built around it. As an example, in Malaysia, we're engaging with the Malaysian government on how do we help promote our manufacturers to actually have more manufacturing in country, promote jobs that way. It's mutually beneficial for us because our access then to that end equipment is significantly faster than having to ship it from somewhere else nearby, India or somewhere else in the region. So there is ways of driving greater job creation. If you take that lens of what is your ecosystem that the sector is creating, how do you help promote it utilising the scale in which you operate, and we're obviously operating at a very large scale in the region, that has actually been a really positive engagement, and really ensuring that you think about your stakeholders being more than just your capital and your customers, but also the governments in which you operate in, the communities in which you operate in. You're trying to drive that positive outcome. We've only seen it work very well for our business.
I think the impact of data centers on the environment have always been oversimplified as being energy intensive. I will urge industry players or the agencies to be looking at us as being the catalyst for low carbon transition, right? So firstly, like what Prash has just said, we all embed sustainability in the way we finance data centers. Similarly, at STT GDC, all our loans are either green or sustainability linked, since we established the Sustainability Linked Financing Framework in 2022. And in 2024, we actually launched the first, or one of the first Sustainability Linked Curve in the region out of Singapore. At the same time, I think we are also, data center operators like us, put a lot of emphasis in how we weave energy efficiency initiatives into how we design our data centers and build our data centers and operate it. So that is something that we are, I would say we are kind of self-regulatory. Yeah, and the last point on jobs created, definitely agree with what Priyesh has said here. What we do is at the country level, in some of the regions that we are in, we are also sponsoring students on data center foundation modules, and in some other states we are actually working with education institutes to see whether there's a possibility to actually weave in data center modules into their undergrad studies. So those are the ways that we are working with local agencies to see how we can engage the local community so that they can benefit from this wave as well.
Yeah. A lot has been spoken with regards to the accessibility and also manpower. Obviously, as the business grow in the country, I can only speak more on Malaysia situations. If you have the manufacturing facility in country, as what rightfully mentioned just now, the support and supply of equipment can be made faster. And we are not just talking about the day one construction, but also the longer term operations and maintenance. That will actually require qualified personnel to maintain and operate these equipments. We're talking about all these gensets, liquid cooling or chiller plants, cooling towers and whatnot, the electrical bus bar. So if you look at the overall engineering facilities within a data center, there's quite a lot of equipment and materials required there, not just the hardware, computers and servers, which people tend to associate more with the data centers, but the M&E portion of the plumbing requirements, I think those are fairly complex. If you're looking at it from slightly lower levels, the workers required to ensure good operations practices are being embedded. I think we need qualified people. And at a higher level, at the design stage, planning and so on, that will require higher competencies among the consultants. In terms of the education, yes, I sat on the advisory panel for one of the universities on their master's and PhD programs. We talk about how some of this, from a curriculum perspective, at the undergraduate and postgraduate programs, especially at the research focus, where you want to go. There's a lot, there's been various conversations talking about going nuclear as part of the more clean energy. SMR has been spoken. Definitely today, we are not there yet, but how would the whole ecosystem going to support that if you're looking at more cleaner energy as apart from the large-scale solar or the solar programs that we have today. So all those things are going to be a part and parcel of sustainable business that the data center is going to bring in together with the manpower requirements.
I'm just going to add one point to what Rebecca said, that catalyzing change is such a great part of what our sector can and is doing. Like the virtual PPAs, etc., is one example, but even things like battery storage systems that you can put alongside these huge substations that can actually provide exactly what the utility is looking for load balance when you have so much new renewable energy coming on into the grid. You actually want these batteries next to these substations, and these substations are being developed by data center operators. Water treatment is another interesting place where data centers can help catalyse change here, because the ability to actually go and invest and provide for more than just themselves, but the broader community around them. That's where it actually gets really exciting. At the scale in which we're deploying of dollars and volume, the good operators, the great operators like the ones on the stage, I think, are absolutely focusing on these as topics.
And for us, data center operators, we are the natural off-takers for energy. So definitely we are there to help de-risk any significant investments in energy transformation projects. So that could also catalyze the low and carbon transition that I spoke about as well.
In interest with keeping with time, I'm going to ask one last question. I think we captured so much excitement around the growth that's happening in this space, but I'm just wondering, do you also face some challenges in your growth plans, and what those challenges might be?
Yeah.
Interesting question.
I was saying earlier to Yo that if it was easy, everyone would do it. But it is. Look, there's always significant challenges in what we do. There's the intersection of having land permittable with power that's accessible and operational well, the supply chain, the capital, the really important one that we have touched on a little bit here today on talent. Talent availability is such an important piece, and then also in a broader context of a social license. You know, there's an inherent social license with what with the natural resources that we're fundamentally using as a sector and as an industry. That are we actually being good in all of that as a sector, not even just individually, and then also being alert to how this is all evolving. You know, the emergence of AI is naturally creating questions. And so how do we help provide the baseline to positive outcomes to come from the investments that we're making? So look, there's those are the challenges that we're constantly facing, and every jurisdiction is slightly different. You know, you look at abundance of land and power in a place like Johor. I wouldn't say abundant as in it's forever, but it's certainly got more than say Singapore or Hong Kong in those categories. But equally, access to capital is probably more abundant in those two relative. And so each jurisdiction has its own challenges, but that's also what makes it fun.
So in terms of challenges, what keeps me awake at night will really be funding and also supply chain constraints, right? If you look at it, in the past, you talk about 10 megawatt data centers, these days 100 megawatt campuses, and even 1 gigawatt campuses. 100 megawatt will translate to easily, just round up numbers, $1 billion of capital. And if you look at replicating that in different geographies in ASEAN and some of our other markets, it increases the complexity. One is the check size, and number two, also how do you leverage the supply chain to deliver that, and do you have like the workforce to support that? Like we are all competing for the same engineers, for example, even with our customers. So I think these are the few things: capital, supply chain, and also talent?
Yeah, if you look at challenges, obviously, there's challenges here and there. The aim is actually how you gain a win-win situation. So we have to run the business responsibly and find a win-win situation for all parties. Winners can take all because we are living in a integrated environment, yeah, with the regulators, local authorities, contractors, customers, and so on. So what would be the best way to achieve a win-win situation for all? Yeah, there must be a bit of give and take, yeah, putting into the right scenario. I think those would be how I see we go through the challenges that we face in terms of getting things done for the data center.
Thank you everyone. Yeah, I think it looks like we've run out of time, so I'd like to conclude this panel for today and pass it back to Olivia for the next panel. Thank you.
Thank you.